Whenever you're ready.
So, our Governor Jerry Brown announced that California's minimum wage will climb to $15 an hour by 2022. 15 American dollars an hour. Let's give the people what they want, right? If this sounds perfect to you, then you've got it all wrong. I'm here to tell you that California should repeal the $15 an hour minimum wage mandate that was recently adopted. You may be wondering why should we do this and what's the significance? Well, I'll tell you. The $15 an hour wage will cause substantial harm. This must be revoked immediately to 1, prevent significant job loss to the unskilled workers, to 2, not cause substantial harm to small business owners, and 3, to not cause inflation. If we don't take this away, then these things will happen. First off, there will be substantial harm to small business owners. Not everyone is big business. What happens to all of the mom and pop shops that now have to pay their employees $15 an hour? What can they do? They can only cut so many hours, they can only let go of so many employees. They may not be able to afford all of these new changes, which will eventually lead them to having to close their doors for good. Small businesses in Seattle are going through the same $15 an hour increase, and some of these small business owners were kind enough to speak their mind and explain how they feel about the changes. According to the New American, they said, for those people who have never run a business, the absorption of the additional cost may seem to be the easiest and most straightforward solution to the requirement to pay employees more. But contrary to what those who have never had the experience of sitting down with the company's balance sheets might think, all business owners are not just jet-setting CEOs with profits that are just flowing in. Even though this is supposed to be a gradual increase, the small businesses aren't just going to be able to punch in a few numbers and be okay. They will suffer. That brings me to another issue regarding small businesses. Why should small businesses be told what to pay their employees anyhow? Shouldn't that be an agreement between the owner and his staff? If a negotiation took place between the two of them, they can decide and agree on a pay. The same article that spoke on minimum wage in Seattle stated, "The heart of our nation does not lie within the halls of Congress, but rather in the bakeries, pizza shops, recycling centers, and other small businesses. It's not the backroom deals between politicians where the effects of these laws will be felt." Next, that brings me to unemployment and unskilled workers. We know that small businesses are not going to just be able to absorb all of these costs that come along with a pay raise. The owners may think twice about who their $15 is going to, and they are not going to be as willing to give a 16-year-old kid a chance to gain experience on their dime. Only the most qualified people with the most experience are going to get these jobs. There is going to be a limited amount of jobs and more people out looking for them. John Bowner, who is a U.S. representative in Ohio, keeps his message simple and to the point. He says, "I've been dealing with the minimum wage issue for the last 28 years that I've been in elective office. And when you raise the price of employment, guess what happens? You get less of it. At the time when the American people are still asking the question, where are the jobs? Why would we want to make it harder for small employers to hire people?" I'm going to go back first to Seattle for a second. Investors Business Daily said that many other studies agree, including one from the American Enterprise Institute, which determines that Seattle lost 10,000 jobs between September and November, and its jobless rate lurched a full percentage point higher due to the city's new minimum wage law. So that's 10,000 jobs in such a short amount of time. So going from Seattle to California, I also have another quote from the Washington Post, and it says that they calculate 600,000 California manufacturing jobs currently pay $15 an hour or less. They say that 31,000 to 160,000 of them could be lost under the proposed agreement, depending how responsive companies are to the cost increases. So you can only imagine if these businesses aren't willing to pay $15 an hour, that's 160,000 jobs that would be lost. Something else came about. I discovered an article from the Wall Street Journal that said the employee of the month has a battery. They said that minimum wage increase is one of the reasons why businesses are headed towards technology. The article said 10 years ago may have seemed far-fetched that a customer would order food in a restaurant without speaking to anyone, but it's the reality now as service employers across the country, including Chili's, Chevy's, and California Pizza Kitchen, introduced tabletop ordering devices. A few clicks on the iPad-like device and the food is on its way. So we can see, why would we want to be replaced by robots? This fact is going to cause so many people to lose their jobs or just get let go altogether or be replaced by these technologies. So we have small businesses that are being hurt, unemployment, what's next, inflation. Businesses are going to have to raise their prices in order to be able to keep up with this $15 an hour wage. Those thousands of dollars are not just going to come out of nowhere. Let's talk about the fast food industry, for example. The Heritage Foundation says that the higher labor costs would initially force fast food restaurants to raise their prices by 15%, which would drive down sales by 14%. This would force restaurants to raise their price again, pushing sales down further. In equilibrium, the average fast food restaurant would have to raise prices 38%. Prices would raise roughly twice as much as the initial increase in labor costs. So this is a mess. We don't want this, and prices will substantially go up, and the consumer will definitely be feeling the difference. So once again, the Washington Post says that boosting the minimum wage to $15 an hour would put California well above the inflation-adjusted peak for the federal minimum wage, which occurred in the 1960s. The effects are difficult to predict. Many economists say because there is little historical precedent for raising minimum wages so high on such a wide scale, by 2018, California's minimum wage would be higher than the rate it is now in France and Australia, which the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development says had the world's highest wage floors in 2015. So we're talking well above the inflation-adjusted peak. We don't have experience. We don't know what's going to happen. Why would California want to go into this blindly and expect the best? You know what I mean? This is a problem, and there is a way to solve this. Stopping the minimum wage increase will prevent these harms. We wouldn't have to be discussing the tragedies of small business loss, unemployment, and inflation. We need to just simply put an end to this. Thanks.